You must be a glutton for punishment because you saw the title of this video and you clicked on it anyways. And I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to be merciful. It's going to be like when you learned as a child that Santa Claus wasn't real. I'm going to pull the Band-Aid off of the things that you thought were safe. The things that you thought, the fairy tales and the childlike wonder and merriment that you woke up this morning will be gone by the end of this video. Because we're going to explain what really happens when you experience deja vu. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jesse Lyon, licensed counselor, trauma hypnotherapist, and the internet's dream interpreter. Today, we're going to talk about deja vu because I get that question all the time. There's a huge overlap between the dream community and the spiritual community. And a lot of the spiritual community will tell you that dreams are very spiritual, they're connections with other planes, they're the way that we can tell what's going to happen next and how we can have precognitive abilities and psychic understandings of the world yet to come. I don't agree with that because I stick to the psychology and the science side of things. And so today we're going to talk about the science of deja vu and what's really happening in your brain when you experience this phenomenon. This all started for me when I saw this video. And so we're going to start with this one. And then there's a couple other ones that go a little bit deeper into it. While you're here, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think deja vu is before and after this video. And while you're there, hit subscribe because it does help the channel grow and spread mental health awareness with others who may need the help. Okay, so let's jump into it.
I think deja vu is, I would say the math part of the brain is it's just the rewiring. It's not really a memory. It's your brain thinking it's a memory. And it's like a short circuit of the mind. But the more fun answer I would say is if parallel universes existed, you're not gonna exist in all of them. One theory is that you make a decision that you had coffee this morning. And then in another version, you had tea, and now you have two separate universes because you had one where you had coffee and you had one where you had tea. And you think about all the people making decisions out there every day, infinite universes, infinite parallel universes, right? And then there's the theory that it's a fixed amount, and however many we started with is however many we have now.
Okay, so that makes...
So this is what I get all the time. People tell me, they're like, no, when you have deja vu, that is a split in the universe. You made a new decision and now there's an alternate timeline. Or people will tell me, no, when you have deja vu, it's because something that you did is very close to a parallel universe and you're sensing the presence of a parallel universe, or that parallel universe is telling you what's going to happen next in your life. And I know there'll be people down in the comments who are like, but Jesse, I've had deja vu and I was able to predict what happened next. Don't worry, my friend. You may think that you've got me stumped, but I've got an explanation for that yet to come. So I don't know. This is what has been going on. What I do know from my work as a counselor, and I'll switch over here so you can see my face, is that a lot of times people who tell me about deja vu, there is a consistent factor. They all have one thing in common: poor sleep, a lot of stress and anxiety, and no consistency in their daily routine. If you do not get enough sleep, you're constantly tired, which most of us Americans are, right? And even non-Americans. I don't mean to be discriminatory, but I can only speak for the Americans because I am one. And we are chronically sleep deprived. They do not have a good sleep routine. They're going to bed at all different hours of their life, and they're highly stressed and anxious. When you start to do those things, the brain isn't functioning right. We know that if you don't get enough sleep, you will start to hallucinate. You'll start to dream while your eyes are open. And so a lot of really bad things happen. A lot of really weird things happen to your mind when you don't get the health and the sleep that you need. One of them is deja vu. I don't think it goes any further than that. I haven't seen any evidence to prove otherwise. In fact, I've seen a lot of evidence to say the opposite, and the more scientific meaning is much more likely and much more plausible. But let's see what she has to say.
Made me sad twice, and I'll tell you why.
Oh no!
When you said it's your brain thinking it was a memory, that actually kind of jolted me a little bit. I'm like, okay, it could definitely be that.
And this is what we're going to get into later, is this overwhelmingly and consistently is what the science says. Your mind thinks this is a memory because it is similar to something that has previously been experienced. And so it is a constant, it's a misremembering.
Yeah.
It could really be that, and that made me sad because I want it to be the other thing. But that's
I know,
that's
me
the
too.
bias to me. But then the other reason I got sad is because I've had deja vu, and I'm like, if I have this life somewhere else, like I'm just saying in my childhood, like thinking that, I was like, fuck, I'm still here.
So kind of sad to think that, wow, this shitty thing happened to me in multiple timelines. I don't know, maybe. All right, so let's get a little bit more sciencey about things. If you haven't followed ASAP Science, they actually did a cover of this. ASAP Science is so good. Go subscribe to them. ASAP Science, if you're watching. Oh my God, I'm flattered.
Is what they found.
Yeah.
Ever have
Okay.
deja vu?
Yes.
Study just came out that has found some interesting insights into potentially what deja vu is. They basically put people into virtual reality
wild.
in a variety of different situations. Some of them, they had really similar layouts and elements, and then other times the location would be completely distinct. They realized that they could trigger deja vu by introducing places that had really similar structural layouts if the person kind of forgot they had already seen something similar. At least one element of deja vu is something being similar enough to something you've experienced, but you cannot consciously necessarily access what that memory is. And say you're visiting somebody in a hospital and you've never
classic.
been to this hospital before, but a lot of hospitals have like really similar layouts. Like the counter might be similar, the hallway with where the furniture placed is might be similar. You're seeing this information, but it's not something you've ever seen before. And maybe your brain isn't making the connection to a very specific place you have actually experienced before. But spatial resemblance is what they found.
Yeah.
And so that really is what's going on. Your brain can't store all of the data. Like we just can't hold all of that stuff inside of our head. So what your brain does, and we'll get to this here in a minute, is it batches that data together. It clumps it together. It's like, here is hospital experiences. Here are school experiences. Here are romantic experiences. And it batches that together and gets rid of anything that it deems not super, super necessary because we have limited space here. Now, when you experience something new that reminds you of something that you've experienced before, it's like, wait a minute, I've been here before. No, you haven't been here before, but you are tapping into a part of your brain that is, oh, this is hospital experiences. This is eerily familiar. And this is where we get a lot of the liminal space stuff. It's like, I've been here before, but I haven't been here before. But maybe it's like, and you see, this is where people get a lot of spiritual feelings because it does create this kind of like out of body, almost like disassociative experience. And that's why a lot of people think that this is a spiritual thing when I personally believe it's not. It's just brain science. All right, let's get to the next one. We're getting deeper and deeper into the science. Andrew Huberman is just a fantastic neuroscientist and researcher. He can be a little bit difficult to get through, but we're going to get through it together because he does get even deeper into the science of deja vu and what's actually going on.
It overlaps. Yeah, I can explain how deja vu works.
Yeah.
This is now understood by neuroscientists. So, and this is kind of an eerie thing about the nervous system. So you have an area of your nervous system called the hippocampus. Mm-hmm. The hippocampus is where you establish memories.
Right.
And then it basically sends that stuff out to the rest of the nervous system and it deals with it elsewhere, or it just discards it. I mean, a lot of what happens in sleep is forgetting all the stuff. These pause effects, these gap effects as they're called rather, allow your brain to learn more quickly.
So he says something there, pause effects and gap effects, and he goes over it very quickly. This is where my ADHD brain spaced out because I don't feel like he did a good job of explaining that. So let me help you here. The pause effect and the gap effect is the gap between what is remembered. Your brain's not going to remember everything. It's going to remember the important pieces and then get rid of the stuff that's not as important. So there's going to be gaps or pauses in your memory. That's what he's referencing here. Hopefully that helps kind of clear things up.
And so this is a lot of what's happening. So deja vu is just a repeat firing. So you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you go, I think I've been here before. It was just that sequence of firing in your brain was close enough that it mimicked that.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, there are a near infinite number of things in the world to see, to think, to hear, people to meet, etc.
Yep.
Memories. You have to batch that. And so the brain is
Can't
really
remember it all.
good at eliminating information and only focusing on certain things. But every once in a while, it overlaps.
It overlaps. Here's one other thing. I wanted to get to this. I mean, gosh, there's like some even longer stuff. The fascinating relationship between deja vu and precognition by Anne Cleary, which maybe we can do a separate video. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do that. But a lot of people talk to me about deja rev. And they're like, well, I don't have deja vu. I have deja rev. Have you heard of deja rev? It's extra special. It is even cooler. And I'm like, oh God, what is this? It's probably the same thing. And it is. It really is the same thing. It's a repeat firing, but it's a repeat firing from a dream. And so I'm going to let This guy here, Fen's Crazy Facts, kind of explain it to you real quick. The difference, deja vu and deja rev.
Did you know that there's a feeling similar to deja vu called deja rev? Instead of feeling like you've previously experienced an event in real life, deja rev is where you feel like you've previously experienced an event in a dream.
There you have it. So it's not that you've experienced that event in waking life, it's that you have experienced that event in a dream. And some people, this is where the spiritual community comes in, they're like, hey, I am predicting what's going to happen next because I am astral traveling, I am projecting myself, I am experiencing things with premonition, and before they even happen, I'm traveling in time. No, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, maybe, sure, but I mean, that's a wild claim. You got to back up that claim. Science is saying it looks much more like this. And so, there's a great saying in mental health counseling, especially when you're in treatment planning and diagnosis class. They say, if you hear hoofbeats, it's probably a horse, not a zebra. And what they mean by saying that is, let's not get fancy here. The likely explanation and the simplest explanation is probably the correct one. And so this is classic. In school, people would come up with these really unique and bizarre diagnoses for their clients. And it's like, they're probably just stressed. Like, let's not get too fancy here unless we have really good evidence to support that. When you're sleep deprived, when you're processing things, and when you experience the limitations of the hippocampus, you're probably going to remember things of your dream, but you're not going to remember everything in your dream. Then you may experience something in your waking life that reminds you of that dream. And you're like, I've dreamed this before. Not quite. You've dreamed something similar, and so it accessed and fired the part of the hippocampus that is related to that event that you're experiencing, and so that's what's going on. I told you I was going to ruin your fun. I told you I was going to ruin your day. Let me know. Do you like this kind of sciencey stuff, or does this take some of the magic away from mental health? Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.